What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Latinsplaining with Denise. I hope everybody's having a great time today. I know I have had a beautiful Easter day. I see that Johnny Mills and Jose already started the chat. Welcome, guys, and thank you for tuning in. Now, guys, let's unwind for a little bit. The egg hunting, the whole situation. It has been a lot. Now, I want to welcome everyone that's watching, not only live, but also the ones that are catching this on the replay. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Denise Gonzalez. For those who don't know me, for those who do, welcome, guys. Now, I want to request that if you're watching this on the replay, I love that you come here to hear my perspective on different things. But I'm going to ask you for a very quick favor, and that is that you press the like button. And if you have not done so, subscribe to my channel, okay? Now, this is a call-in show, so of course, I'm going to have people coming in. Now, before we start with the calls and everything, I want to ask that please, if you have not read about it, or if you have not watched Anatomy of a Scandal, please don't come up here. Please don't make me explain this show to you. Do me a favor. Come on, it's Easter. Okay. Give me that Easter gift. Okay. So, guys, without any further ado, let's get into today's show. Quick announcement, guys. I've been a little bit back. I have one foot in, one foot out. And as always, I say it has been very dry without me. And I see that, uh, there's more things that, I'm going to bring in this week. I just had to take care of a few things last week, but I was here twice. So at least, you guys got the show going on. Like I said, guys, make sure that you hit that like button, also subscribe, and also, if you like this content, make sure to make all your contributions and donations to $Denise 100 by 35 at Catch Up. Show me some love. It's Easter again. It's Easter. So show me some love. But definitely, guys, let's get this show started. And like I said, um, today we're going to discuss very sensitive topics. And before I get into the nitty gritty of it, I want to remind people that this is not a show for children. If you're under the age of 21, please get out of here. This is for adults. And if you think you cannot handle and you're easily triggered by, uh, you know, basically the topic of consent or assault of the sexual manner, this topic might be a little bit triggering for you. So I will politely ask you to refrain yourself from watching this, because, of course, we're going to touch on the topic, and some comments may be offensive to selected groups of people. And I don't want you to be offended by anything that we say out here, because this is a very delicate topic. But let's get into Anatomy of a Scandal. Anatomy of a Scandal is a show that aired on Netflix, and it's a limited series of 6 episodes. And on those 6 episodes, basically, it touches on the topic. And another thing I want to say before we get into it, if you don't want to get any spoilers on this show, stop everything you're doing, drop everything, go get some snacks and some drinks, and go watch the show. And then you catch us on the replay, okay? Because there's going to be all kinds of spoilers out here. So definitely, hi, MK. Like MK say, for those coming in, get the likes up, people. Get the likes up, okay? We need likes. If there's 5 people right now watching live, I need 5 likes at least right now. So definitely, if you're not familiar with it, like I said before, and you don't want to get any spoilers, there's going to be a lot of spoilers out here. So going back to Anatomy of a Scandal, this is a show basically about this minister in the UK that has this beautiful marriage, beautiful family, a wife and 2 kids. And He basically lets his wife know that, you know, he cheated on her. He had an affair for 5 months with one of his assistants. And on that same night is going to air like publicly that this situation happened. So you can see how his wife, and I'm going to show the prime minister, of course. Well, he's not the prime minister, but he's a minister, James Whitehouse. He basically goes out in the public, and his wife supports him and everything, and she's just more worried about how the kids are going to take the news and so on and so on. But she decides to stand by him, and he admits publicly like he did that, and he apologized to his wife, he apologized to his family, he apologized to everyone. And basically like a few days after, because he started going up in the polls, like people started liking him more, obviously because of his accountability and whatever. You guys know how this whole marketing situation works. So basically, after a few weeks of this scandal breaking out, that he had an affair with Olivia Lytton, his assistant. Olivia makes an accusation that, she was sexually assaulted by James Whitehouse. So the whole show takes like a wild turn, on how basically this woman may have gave or not gave consent to the main character, James Whitehouse. And in a very public trial, basically all the scenes get broken down into their last sexual encounter. And basically, if you have not watched the show, like I said, it's gonna spoil it a little bit, well, a lot. But basically, they explain their last encounter after he called off the affair that he had with Olivia. Um, they had another encounter one day when he had like bad news. He was portrayed as an arrogant by the press, and they had an elevator sexual encounter. And it was very passionate, it was very rigorous and whatnot. And the whole trial is based upon the fact that he allegedly says that he uh, Olivia consented to it. It all comes down to consent. That she never said that she did not wanted it, that she never said the words no and or stop, and that she only said not here. Now, during the trial, his wife, Sophie Whitehouse, has to sit down and hear all this disgusting details about how her husband was basically in a relationship with his assistant, and how that relationship developed and whatnot. And they were prosecuted by Kate Woodcroft. Kate Woodcroft, it's a key role in this whole thing because, as eventually, towards the end of the show, we discover that Kate is tied to the Whitehouse family in the most craziest way. So basically, eventually, James gets out of this whole, situation, and the jury finds him not guilty. And but towards the end, Kate Woodcroft turns out to be no one, not other than Holly Berry, not Halle Berry, but Holly Berry. And holy moly, you might ask yourself, who is Holly Berry? Well, Holly Berry used to be no other than Sophie Whitehouse mentor when they were in Oxford at college. And eventually, she finds herself immersed in this whole situation because she had an encounter with young James Whitehouse in college when she was intoxicated, and he basically, according to her, he forced himself into her. And that was her first sexual encounter, but she kept it a secret. And then she changed her identity and grabbed her middle name and like her second name, and her ex-husband's um last name, and form a new identity, which under she practiced law as a prosecutor for the crown. So eventually, Sophie, being very attached and ignorant to the fact that that assault occurred, she identifies certain things about Kate that give her out as Holly Berry. And at first, you might think that she's siding with her husband. And after he denies that he said, "Don't be such a prick," tease to Olivia Lytton when they were in the elevator having that very passionate and rigorous sexual encounter. He denies everything. He claims that no words were exchanged and so on and so on. But eventually, after he gets clear out, his wife says, like, "That's something that you would have said." To what James responds, you basically have to tweak the truth in order to get what you want. And, being a politician, like a privileged politician after all. And eventually, his wife decides to leave him. But she doesn't just leave him. James also is very good friends since college. Uh, he's very good friends with the prime minister, which has stood by his side, and they had an encounter with the law in the past regarding heroin use, and one of their friends that jumped under the influence, and the drugs were provided by the prime minister when he was in college, and James got rid of the evidence. So eventually, Sophie Whitehouse discovers this truth, that she was ignorant to it because she didn't want to hear this from her young boyfriend at the time in Oxford. So she decides to leave him. And I said that wasn't enough. She reaches out later to Kate during the last episode when she's leaving James, and she basically tells her, I'm sorry, that there's something that James and the prime minister can be prosecuted on, even though Kate didn't got her conviction for sexual assault. Now she's going to be prosecuting this minister and the prime minister for the crime that they commit while in Oxford. Now, you guys got like a very brief briefing of what the show is about. Like I said, if you have watched the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not watched the show, then at least you got like a little bit of what the show is about. But um I've seen a lot of the commentary uh regarding the Me Too movement and all this stuff, and like people talking about consent. And I'm gonna say two things. I think the person that got, like, throughout the show never focuses on Olivia Lytton's experience. It's mostly based on the Whitehouse family and Kate Woodcroft. And we disregarded completely Olivia Lytton since you know, experience and whatnot. We don't know her motivations because, of course, she said that she was in love, that, she followed James to the elevator, and that, he bid her and whatnot. And, there's a lot of things that happen. Uh, but eventually she got brushed off by not the prosecution, but like by the jury and the public as the side chick that was disgruntled because she got tossed away, which I personally believe there was some truth to that. However, there were some words exchanged by Olivia when she had that situation with James, when she said, "Not here," because she didn't want to do that in a public setting. However, they already had established consent in a public setting because they actually had prior sexual encounters in the office. So it got really tricky, which is why James was declared not guilty. But I thought throughout almost till like episode 6, I thought that Sophie Whitehouse was the real victim in all this because she always believed her husband. She always believed that her husband was this pristine, discipline and structure man that was loving and caring and kind. And She even stood by her man through the whole process until he was declared not guilty, even though she had her doubts and she felt some type of way. But my thing is that towards the end, Sophie takes a turn that is almost criminal. And I'm going to break down those things in every character because, like I said, I've seen a lot of commentary because this is a very intricate show to watch and it has a lot of conflicting ideas. And like I said, I'm not condoning anything regarding sexual assault. On the contrary, it's something that must be eradicated and prosecuted in all of its expressions. However, this case is a little bit more weird than that. So, as I explained before, Olivia Lytton, in my opinion, she had some half truths into it. Obviously, she had her feelings involved in this situation, and she felt that she was discarded by this powerful man that made her feel so many things in the 5 months they were together. And when that wasn't going her way, and she felt like it was so casual with no regards of her feelings, of course, she made a pass into what's a little bit unethical and immoral, which was, let's just call it assault. So we see how her character really dances into the criminal territory because you're using the law just to get your benefit and destroy a man's career. So to that extent, I do understand her point. I do understand where she's coming from, but at the same time, don't mess with a married dude. You're think about the woman, you're breaking off a family, think about the kids, and also think about yourself. Like why you have to expose yourself to that situation. And that brings me to Kate Woodcroft, which it's a woman that, even though she was assaulted by James in the past, also, even before this happened, when the flashbacks during the show happened, you can see that even before this whole assault happened, she was what we know as the Dove, the designated ugly fat friend of this hot girl in college. And she has a hot boyfriend that she cannot attain because she's the Dove. So of course, she's always eyeing this dude. And then when she gets the encounter that she doesn't like the encounter that she gets. So she tries to just not have it. And it doesn't happen because it doesn't happen the way that she wanted it to happen. So her motivations for it are basically, I'm going to make you pay because you did not give me the attention that I wanted, which is the attention that ended up being on Sophie's this whole time. You gave her marriage stability and protection. And during the show, you can also see how Kate uh, still is in this pattern. She's a divorcee at this point. She knows that she's been dancing in the grossly unethical waters of prosecuting somebody that she's biased to hate. And that's something that, according to the law, is extremely unethical. You could lose your license to practice law, and but she brushes it away because everyone in this show has this sense of morale, especially Kate, that in reality she doesn't have. She wants to hold James and Sophie to a morality standard that she doesn't even have, which it's super cringe to watch because even when she loses this prosecution for assault and consent, she basically loses her mind. But then you have to think for a second because a lot of people I see are giving it to Kate, like, yeah, we love this and blah, blah, blah. But like, this is a criminal woman that even when she lost the case, she went to her lover, which happens to be another married dude. And that's what she has in common with Olivia. And she even expresses it to the dude. She's like, I picked you, and this has to end because you're an unavailable man. So you might see a pattern here with this type of woman that translates into what we're seeing today. You see this woman nowadays that like to mess with families and other women's husbands, eventually, picking on available men because of their own insecurities. And I'm not saying that, I'm not aiming on anybody. So don't come for me, but it's just my opinion. Of course, you can disagree with me, and that's why I'm going to open the call line in a minute. um However, like I said, she's immersed in this case because she sees herself through the young Olivia Lytton. And she takes this case not for the benefit of Olivia, not for the benefit of the standard of law, but because she wants blood. She's out for a pound of flesh from no other than James Whitehouse. And then that brings me to Sophie. I fell for Sophie throughout the whole show because, like I said, she's the always supporting wife that believed her man, never questioned anything that he said. Follow him everywhere, put her career on hold to become a wife and a mother. And it sucks to be in that position. Like, I couldn't only imagine, to go through that in such a public manner. And you see her throughout the show, how her friends, even though she didn't do anything, her friends distance themselves from Sophie and Sophie's kids, and she has to live through that. And that's something that James doesn't see or experiences because he's not the one raising the children. So my thing with Sophie is that, just as Olivia, James, and Kate, she also engages when her buttons are really pushed and when she's really angry, that she finally leaves James because she discovers that he's nothing of what she thought he was. She resorts to the unethical and also the criminal sector. This is a show about criminals because she knows that her former mentor, Kate, is actually Holly Berry, and she cannot prosecute these people. But she's still covering that up in order to have another pound of flesh. She's also getting her quote unquote payback from what she went through because she's angry and she's frustrated. And hey, Rakim, what's up? She's frustrated and she's angry, about the fact that what she thought was her reality and her life turned out to be something completely opposite. And even though her husband got, back into the lifestyle that they both knew and enjoyed, something doesn't sit right with her because she still has all these emotions in it. If you watch the whole show, you realize that Sophie just gets pushed around and never has time to even cope with the fact my husband was unfaithful. Why this happened? Did I have something to do with it? Is there something we needed to change? Where I was lacking in the situation? If there's, or he's just a prick. She didn't have time to process all those emotions, and she just kept swallowing, on top of that, wound, to the point that she could not take it anymore, and it became quote unquote infected, and she just wanted something to make her feel anything other than what she was feeling. So of course that brings us to our main character, no other than James Whitehouse, which is the center of all this drama. And you can see both sides of the story, where of course James it's caught up in situations that are less than pristine, like in college, but he doesn't understand the concept of consent, and he doesn't understand the concept of limits because he's a man that comes from a privileged mindset, that he can come and take whatever, and if he tweaks the truth and you know preserves an image of goodness and self-righteousness, he can get away with whatever he can, and just by tweaking the truth or saying half truths, because in the trial he lied through his teeth in order just to look good, and people believe him because of course he's the married man with children that had a fling, and this woman it's quote unquote angry at him. So of course they're not going to see hey Nas, what's up? Make sure you hit that like button. But definitely, you see also his criminal side earlier in life when he even had his friend that he had good intentions. And I'm not saying that this guy doesn't have good intentions to a degree. It's just that the instruments that he uses to actually proceed in these situations, it's often not something that a good person would do, or a person that it's supposed to be held to a higher standard would do. So you guys get my point. And to resume this whole thing, I would say that, in my opinion, Anatomy of a Scandal is a great show. It's absolutely thrilling. You cannot just watch one episode. This is something that you must binge watch. However, I would say it's highly addictive. You can't have enough. And to be honest with you, everybody in here, to all the ladies and the folks that I'm hearing, you know, talking about the concept of consent and assault and marriage and infidelity and all this stuff, make no mistake, everybody in this show is a criminal. Everybody. This is just showing white collar crimes and how they happen. Nobody in this show is the good person. Everybody is a villain. This is like a viper's nest, and only the stronger or the people with the better tactics, or the ones that can remain somewhat structured inside this whole thing, will survive. And that's basically what it is. If you go into the show thinking that by any chance some of these people are innocent, you are naive. All these people, for their own personal gain, committed heavy crimes that go against everything that the law stands for, our morale stands for, and even if you are in the religious sector, religion stands for. So I don't feel sorry for anybody, but it was a very uh thrilling and exciting show to watch. And I recommend, if you have not watched it and you have no problems with the spoiling I just did, it's a must watch. But most likely you will come to the same conclusion I did, which is like everybody is motivated by their own personal gain to commit crimes, and they use their positions and their power as a prop in order to, have something over other people. So I'm going to, I hope that that has resumed my perspective for people. And I'm gonna open the call line. Like I said, if you have not watched the show, please, Jesus, don't come up here. If you watch the show and you wanna disagree with me and give me your perspective, I'm all ears. If you want to share something about this whole show and how it affects us today, also come up here. And one thing I would say is that I see that a lot of people that have commented on this. Oh my God, look at Radical. What's up, Radical? He's like, I hear you teaching people about crime. Okay, come on, Rad. But seriously, I'm going to say this to all the people that are like under 30, or I feel so bad that we're being taught that this is reality. This is by no means uh, reality. In reality, this stuff happens, but the way this happens is that Kate Woodcroft will get outed. That's for sure. On top of that, James Whitehouse will not walk. We live in the Me Too era. Let's face it. Bill Cosby went to jail. Harvey Weinstein went to jail. He would have never walked. That this man would have been already with his prison tattoo, braids, and an orange suit in less than a jiffy. So definitely, like, let's talk about consent. Let's talk about assault. Let's talk about Anatomy of a Scandal. And speaking of that, I want to welcome Jose Negron. What's up, Jose?
Good evening, daughter. How are you doing tonight?
I am good. How about you?
Oh, fine, thank you. In fact, believe it or not, I'm watching Anatomy. I was watching Anatomy of a Scandal as you speak. It's very interesting.
It is. It is. It's very intriguing, very interesting show. It has a lot of stuff that, I think what's interesting about this show is that it's so juicy. Like the gossip never ends. It keeps building like intrigue and mystery. because you never really get a hold of people's real intentions until, like, I think the last two episodes, because you literally think that James Whitehouse is being framed.
Mhm.
You start hating Olivia right off the bat.
Mhm. Um, Now, the last time I saw anything even remotely similar to this was Fatal Attraction back in the late 80s.
Oh my god, boiling that bunny? No, hell no. There's no
In,
bunny boiling in this one, okay, people.
well, the fact of the matter is, I cut my string short because I want to make sure I did not miss yours.
Thank you very much. So what are your thoughts on the topic of consent, and what do you think overall about everyone's character on this?
Uh, you know what? I can see that there's not really one innocent person involved in all this, except maybe the children.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
that's
obviously.
about that's about it. I mean, but the fact of the matter is, it is no surprise that people who are in the positions of authority or money or both, they manage to get away with some crazy stuff. I mean, that's just something that is it's not new. It's been going on for centuries. I mean, basically, if you have money or if you have influence or you have money and influence, there is a set of laws and then there's another set of laws for everybody else.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And it's crazy because everybody in this show, I think the only person that might not have power but have had influence in this show is Olivia. She doesn't come from an
Okay.
affluent family. She doesn't come from money. She's just an assistant to a minister. And but she has the public's uh, power. And also she makes a power move through Kate Woodcroft, because Kate takes this case as her own personal journey in order to punish uh, James Whitehouse. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, tomorrow I have the day off, so I'm going to be spending a good part of it watching Anatomy of a Scandal.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a must watch, and like I said, you can't just watch one. It's kind of like when you eat I don't know, certain chips that you might like or something. You can just
Oh
have one.
yeah. Oh yes, those commercials from the 80s, from the time of the baby boomers, or as you
Oh
like to
my god.
refer to as the elderly.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, because you guys are beyond middle age. As a matter of fact, going a little bit off topic just for one brief minute, I read the other day being middle age is being 37.5, because the average person only lives till like 70 something years old. So you're not middle age, you're already elderly. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes, it
well,
does.
of course, according to your interpretation
I'm about to be
of
middle aged. I'm about to be middle aged, but that's a topic for another day. But in all honesty, people, if you have any commentary regarding Anatomy of a Scandal, regarding consent, please tune in. The link is in the chat. Click in the link, come up here, give us your opinion about this show, give us your opinion about what's consent today. And speaking about consent, which is a topic that I wanted to touch on, I wanted to say I am a little bit concerned about this whole new thing. Like, it was, I believe, in 1991 when consent was a huge boom amongst married folk. And I'm seeing today that the topic is being pushed a lot because they're saying that when a woman is intoxicated, she cannot give consent. And I agree. Okay, I agree. Okay, fine. I disagree in many ways with that, but I agree in so many ways. And I'm going to explain this, like I said at the beginning. If you are easily triggered by this topic because you probably have had a bad experience, please go out of this. This is a stream that you can easily skip. I'm not going to get mad at you. Just give me the like and go out. But I disagree with a lot of things. For example, I remember when I was in my young years, in my club going years, I never went to the club if I knew I was going to drink. I never went to the club without at least one male friend, I mean, two male friends and one girlfriend, because
Mhm.
this is something you have to plan. You're going to be intoxicated in public, and the fact, hey Morena, what's up, the fact that, if you want to jump on and talk about consent, which is what we're talking about, make sure you click the link. But back to what I was saying, it's so crazy that today we are removing responsibility from people, uh to the point that now we're making a total stranger responsible of acknowledging without knowing your base character, like how you really are without the influence of alcohol. But we are removing the fact that this person, their lives can be ruined because of an assumption. Because let's say, for example, I am a man and you're a woman, right? And we both go to a nightclub, and you are alone or you're with one of your girlfriends, but they see me as a guy approaching you and they just go away. And you have had, let's say, two very strong mojitos and a martini. And I see that you're a little flirty and happy and whatnot. And I don't understand how you are in real life, like without alcohol. All I see is your martini, which is your last drink. So to me, that could be possibly your first drink. And I continue the flirtation and it goes into a physical form eventually at a private setting. How am I supposed to know you're too intoxicated to give me consent? Does that make sense? How am I supposed to know that you cannot give me consent?
Um, okay, but you know something, Denise? In a way, I agree, and in a way, I disagree. Okay, and I'm going to tell you where I disagree. If a person appears, okay, and I'm not talking about anyone who is a medical expert. What I'm saying, if a person whose speech appears to be slurred, who seems to be unbalanced, or if that person appears to be under the influence of substance, whether it be alcohol or whether it be drugs, okay, that person may not have the forethought, cognizance to say yay or no. So in
Yeah,
a
of
way,
course. But
so in
but
a
how
way,
do you
okay, that's what I'm saying. If the person, and please hear me out, if no, because okay, please hear me out. I'm talking about a person whose speech is slurring. I'm talking about people who are wobbly. Okay. I'm not talking about someone that's slightly buzzed. I'm talking about someone that appears to be, they had like a couple of drinks too many. Okay. And
Mhm.
then you decide to get involved with some chaka chaka chaka. Even if she says yes, the issue is she in the right frame of mind under those circumstances? Again, I'm not talking about someone who's slightly buzzed. I'm talking about someone who's basically they're staggering, their speech is slur,
No,
they're
that
moving.
that I agree. That I agree. Like if you see as someone that doesn't have the proper orientation, or that their movements are like kind of weird, of course you're gonna know that person is intoxicated. What I'm talking about, what if I'm just tipsy and you are tipsy too as a girl, and I can figure that out because there's no way for me to know you're tipsy and you're not just like this in real life.
See
Like
that?
and that's the thing. Three drinks, what if I'm a heavy drinker? What if you are a heavy drinker as a girl and you're just tipsy, and all I'm seeing is the martini? I just came to the club and you had a martini, but before that martini you probably did pre-game with your girls, and you had two very strong mojitos before that martini, and you're all messed up. But how am I supposed to know that you're that messed up if you're acting normal because you're a heavy drinker, and you admit it, yeah, I like this and I want it and I want it to continue and I want to get physical, and I'm a girl, but I'm giving you consent. How, as a guy, I'm supposed to know that?
See that's a great area. That's why I made the distinction between someone that you know, if you're fully alert, unless you're brain damaged or what have you, the person's okay. No, because you know me, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it 100. But if you're talking about someone that's a little tipsy or a little buzzed, it's very hard to make a determination whether or not the person is giving consent of their own free will compared to someone that's basically like blah, 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 blah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's something that I think we have to establish certain parameters. And either we stop selling alcohol, which is something that's retarded to me, because I mean, I wouldn't want that upon any lady. But either we stop selling alcohol, certain amounts of alcohol to women, and not allow them to get buzzed in public or intoxicated, or if I sell you as a vendor more than 2 drinks, I will put a permanent stamp on your wrist or on your left hand in order for anybody that approaches you to know that you have had more than 2 drinks and you cannot give consent. But that way, men can know, do not approach this lady in a physical manner because I have sold her more than 2 drinks.
Um,
There has to be a physical way for men today and women too, because this has happened to guys too. Like how many guys in the chat, put a number one in the chat if you're a guy and you have been out there and you went out with the boys or by yourself, you had a few drinks and you saw this beautiful Valkyrie of a woman, you had a sexual encounter with her, and the next day she's the most horrible orc straight from Lord of the Rings, and you just want to run for the hills and forget that you were ever in close proximity with this lady. If that has happened to you as a man, put a number one in the chat. Okay, if that has never happened to you, put a number two. But I know of a lot of my male friends in the past when I was still in college and after college, they have had these experiences. As a matter of fact, like I know of a friend that, I mean, I don't mean no disrespect to the albino people, right? But he thought that he saw this beautiful Jessica Rabbit type of chick, and because he was drunk, and eventually it was an albino chick, and he could not believe he could not believe what was happening, but he was too intoxicated to actually consent. So, does that has that happened to you as a guy? I want to know, and I want to hear from you.
okay, I'm happy to say in my 59 years plus, which in your book I might makes me as old as Methuselah,
Oh my god!
who lived to be 969 years old.
Yeah, you have seen
Uh,
dinosaurs. Okay.
watch, watch it, Denise. I love you, but the love only goes so far. But you know, but no, but the fact of the matter is, I'm happy to say that has never happened to me. Okay, and in
But that's your
fact,
your own experience. Have you ever been
I
intoxicated in public?
um I'm sure I have at some point. I mean, because like I said, according to you, I live 1,000 years from now. I mean, what have you. So, I mean, I do recall a couple years ago, um, I had this weird beer. I don't know what the heck it was, and next thing you know, I had a buzz. When I went to the DR, I think I had like one drink too many, and but the good thing about me is I was not a crazy intoxicated. I mean, I didn't do anything stupid or what have you. I just basically chilled.
So you basically never had, but you see, that's the thing. You are like a good Boy Scout type of dude. It's not the same for like the rest of the
I know,
so-called mortals out here.
I know
We
that.
all
I
had crazy partying years where we went to the club, we did got intoxicated in public. Our girlfriends and our friends, our wingman had to pull us out of the club, and take us home and put us in our bed and whatever. We all had those years. Come on. And like I said, as a guy, I want to hear from you if you have ever been in a situation where you thought you were getting a beautiful Snapple, and when you woke up, it was a disgusting peach tea crystallite. Like legit. That's all I'm saying. Like it has happened. It
All
has
right,
happened.
talking about bait and switch.
Yeah, it has happened. Come on, like alcohol makes everything look prettier, and it has happened to a lot of people. Like I said, I know a lot of friends that I grew up with, and their experiences are hilarious. And I've seen that more guys laugh it off, but then the girls get traumatized. And I can see why, but to be honest with you, like it's just something that I've seen happening. I see that Morena says, "Wow."
Now, I'm gonna now.
Morena, has that happened to you? Have you ever had one too many to drink, and you thought you were taking Brad Pitt home, and eventually it looked like Cuco Pasurin? Let me know.
Well, I'm gonna make a confession, and I'm afraid if I make this confession, I might end up losing my Christian card.
Oh, come on, go ahead.
I think one time when I was about 15 years old, 14 years old, I actually smoked pot.
That's I thought you were gonna say that you had literally you had a sexual encounter with a nun or something. Like smoking pot today is like drinking a beer.
Okay, but remember, I lost my virginity in a church trip.
It's that, oh my god. And you call yourself a good Christian. I just can't believe that.
Well, like I said, I was young then. No.
Yeah. That's just, oh my god, that's just insane. That's just insane. And in all honesty, like I said, we all have had those moments. And I see that guys are shying away, and I get that. But there is always someone in our past that we wish we never were in a physical proximity with them. Like I said, I know of male friends that have had this, you know, encounters with this beautiful mermaid, and they think it's, like I said, a Valkyrie that's like hot and whatnot. And when they wake up the next day, or when they go for like another encounter with this chick, she looks like an orc from Lord of the Rings. Like I've known this for a fact. That has happened to almost every guy I know.
Denise, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Have you ever had a situation when you had like one too many, and then you hooked, and then you met a guy you thought he was like the most handsome guy in the world, and then you gotten sober and looked like something like the cat threw it up.
No, actually, no, because I mean, no, I had an experience where I was almost roofied, but I had my sister with me. And because I never went out clubbing by myself. And I never went with bad friends. Like I always had friends that had my back all the way till I make it home. So
Okay.
I never had to, you know, sort through a bad experience like that. I know of girls that has happened to them, but you always have a good friend that pulls you and tells you he's ugly AF. That's a mother
Mhm.
flipping
Oh,
ugly dude. Let's go.
uh, did you see the comment that Ramon made?
Oh my God, Ramon, jump on here. Share your wisdom with me, and I want to ask you a few questions. I see that Ramon says Jose redefines the term religious experience. Yeah, he does that all the time. He thinks he's Bonifacio, straight from the heavens. And then look, this is a guy that loves to say that he's angelical, but then he trolls his cyber daughter, and then on top
Oh,
constantly. And then
oh,
on top
excuse
of
me.
that, on top
Like,
of that, on top of that, he said that he had, his first sexual experience at a church camp. And then he has had like all these wild experiences. I don't think Jose literally is the epitome of, saint behavior. But I mean, let's let him dream.
Uh, Janice, and you never troll me, okay? You never troll me,
No, no, I never
okay?
did. I'm a child of the Lord.
Excuse me. I have a stream on toxic femininity, so you don't want me to bring up those receipts. But and as far as the other thing, I'm a sinner saved by grace.
Oh my God. That, yeah, I know what that means. I know what that means. But in all honesty, guys, this is something that I think we should touch, when I suggested you, Jose, to do spicy Fridays.
Yes, I
This
know.
is a topic that we should definitely touch on. We should definitely touch on the topic of consent and this experience, because I think guys are like very, very much shy of admitting this. I see that Robert, what's up, Robert? If you want to jump in and talk about your experiences, you're more than welcome. It's been a while. He says, I'm gonna translate in English for those who do not speak Spanish, right? But he says there was a woman that tried to kidnap me when I was drunk. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Robert. That a lot of people always says that it's only that only happens to us. But in all honesty, I have seen in my male friends a lot of their experiences, and they are extremely hilarious because they
Uh,
get all this stuff too. This happens both ways. You always have like the crazy dude that's always a sobrao in every hangout, that he's like the ugliest dude in the club, that thinks that he can hang out with the crowd. And usually he's like with his attractive friend, and then he tries to come in and jump, into the crowd, and always gets rejected miserably. And then you always have the crazy chick that goes after the guys that are intoxicated because she knows that she can score when a guy doesn't see how ugly she is. That happens all the time. I see that
um,
Radical Latino says, let's talk crime. How much is a brick nowadays? I don't know, Radical. I think you put the price on it, the price standard in New York. Let us know. Go ahead, Jose.
uh, I talk about doing it like on a regular basis. This saucy topic, or
We
just like on one.
should. We should plan and talk about it, because there's a lot
Oh,
of topics that don't get talked about that
you
needs to
know
be
what?
addressed.
We okay. You know what? I think that's a good idea. But you said that Fridays is your day to spend with your hubby.
Yeah, definitely. Look at what
So
Robert said out here. Robert said, we can talk about it like later, like backstage, but look at what Robert said. He said, she said that she wanted to have my babies. Jesus Christ, your babies already? And she said that she wanted to have Dominican Cuban babies. Jesus Christ, that's insane. I see that Radical
um,
Latino says 35K is the cheapest, and it's 30K if you know Spanish. Radical, stop, you bastard. Like,
but
and
you
if
know
you
something.
if you believe in Cristo Rey, it's 25K. No, but continue, Jose.
But you know, I actually once had a Mexican that she said she wanted to have 10 kids, and it's like, you're kidding, you're kidding. 10 kids?
Ah! 10 kids.
No, it's
That's
like that's a
insane.
that's a freaking that's a tribe.
That's literally a basketball team. I see that the introvert Boricua just entered the conversation. What's up, Ramon?
Hey, Chica, what's going on? Thanks for having me on your
Hello.
panel. Hey,
Nothing
Jose.
much.
Yes.
Do you have you had listened to this whole topic about consent, llevarse gente enredada when they're drunk? Have you have you listened to this whole thing?
No, no, I have heard some things back in the day when I used to actually hang out with other guys. That
Mhm.
was until I was 19 years old. After I turned 19 years old, that's when I seriously started dating young women and girls and all, and I stopped hanging out with dudes altogether. But I will hear some stories because I was still a teenager, and you know that young guys are getting together with young girls that are about the same age, and they're teenagers, and they have these raging hormones, and you know that they're just wanting to hook up, and they find each other cute, and they want to get together. And you know how it goes when they get at those ages. But because I was very nerdy looking back then, I didn't have that kind of luck. It was always happening with with the dudes that I used to hang out with. They were the ones that were having all of the luck, and I didn't know what they were talking about. So I would just sit there and listen to their stories, crazy stories, wild stories, how they were getting together with girl and that girl, and all the crazy sex positions that they were getting into. But they were the crazy sexual escapades that they were doing. But we're talking about teenagers, so these were teenagers. They were not necessarily drinking, getting drunk. There was pot. There was weed, because when I was hanging out back then, there would be instances in which hacían el serrucho, as we say it, and they will get the herb. They will get the
The
like, yeah,
devil's lettuce.
yeah. That's something that I did participate a couple of times, but I was a teenager, and I wasn't dating yet. After I started dating, when I was going to school, and I was trying to be more responsible and working long hours along with that, and I started dating. That's what I did in the little time that I would have available when I wasn't working or I wasn't in school. Then I stopped with the hangouts, and I started dedicating myself to being with women. But before that, I will hear a lot of that. I will hear a lot of those stories, and there will be kind of like sessions of getting some herb, and those were good times. Those were good times, and I learned a lot, and it did help prepare me for when I will be dating on. But the only one
Look at what Radical says. He says Ramon is the type to pick up his girlfriend from school in his Lincoln Town car to go to the mall and ball out at the food court.
Uh, well, I remember. I remember the hangouts at the mall, plaza. Vámonos pa plaza, diggity pa plaza. Para mí,
Oh my God.
yeah. I'm from that time.
Oh
When
my
I would go the
Um,
hangout, going to the mall, to the big mall of the island, and check out the girls. No social media. Remember, it was the 90s, so then we
God.
actually had to
And
go to
one
places
question, Ramon.
yes.
You live in the 90s and you were in Bonifacio like Jose here.
Uh-huh.
That you
uh,
know of, either you or your friends. Like I have heard wild stories about like certain dudes, well, almost every dude that has had one too many drinks
Uh-huh.
and thinks that he's taking home like this gorgeous chick.
Uh-huh.
And when they wake up the next morning or when they go again to like hook up with this girl, she looks like a disaster. Have
The
you
thing
ever heard of that?
I have been in situations where I would try to tell the guy, like, look, don't get with that. Don't get with that. You're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. But remember, if the guy is drunk enough, that affects that guy's vision, and they and they think that they're looking at a supermodel, and they're getting together with a filtrafa de mujer. Something that is just not looking very good. I mean, they're not looking very good, and then they will live to regret it, and they will get clowned on top of it. That's something
Yeah.
that I did see. That I did see.
You see?
Yeah, no, it happens. It happens. It didn't happen to me, but to me, it happened a bit worse, because it was a few years back when I was still in Mississippi, and I met this Haitian chick, and there was one instance when it comes to the consent part, it gets a little serious for me, because I had met this Haitian chick, and we had met each other a few times. I would go to her house. We did what we had to do. It had already happened before. The consent what happened before. She wasn't somebody who would really drink or anything like that. But there was one instance because she will be a little crazy. There was one instance in which she invited me over, and what happened.
Oh, the chick took him out so that he won't talk. But I want to highlight, Ramon, jump back in. What Radical Latino commented on Ramon. He said he will take Shorty to sales to look at rings and tell her the same thing he told 5 other girls. One day, ma, if you act right, you could get that ring, ma.
Um, is it kind of like a guy asking? Now I heard the phrase "wifey privileges." Um, that's referring to sex?
I don't know. I've never. That must be like an American, that like an American thing. If somebody can clarify what wifey privileges are at, I see that Ramon is back here. Ramon, she got you. She got
Oh,
you, man.
Ramon, remember when we did the stream regarding toxic femininity, and there was one person who now saying that she never did any
Okay,
trolling.
okay. Your time
She,
has come to an end, Jose. Thank you very much. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Oh, no, mother mia, I hit something on my device and it clicked me out. I was in the middle of saying something and I accidentally touched something that clicked me out. My bad. So, I mean, as I was saying, I'm gonna finish really quick. The thing is that I was invited over, and what happened, but that the following day she was talking about that she wasn't all there and she was half asleep and she had taken something, some drink or something like that, and she started to accuse me. She wanted to accuse me that I had taken advantage of her. The thing is that she invited me over and she was sober, but the following day she was talking about that she had been drinking and that I took advantage of her. And she later I learned that she actually went all the way to the cops to try to accuse me of me taking advantage of her. But the thing is, fortunately, the cops did their job and started asking her questions. Quickly, later on, I learned that they quickly realized that she was full of shit and nothing happened. So, yeah. But she tried to tried to get in trouble. I had that one experience, and it's like I don't want to date anybody in this country now. if I'm around a woman, it better be on a trip. When I'm outside of the country, when I'm around a woman that has a better head on her shoulders, who's not trying to play those games because they don't understand. They're not understanding. They play those games. They can fuck up a man's life.
Oh my God, look at this. Look at this, Ramon. Radical says Ramon is the next episode of the first 48.
Well, that's kind of well, there is a plot there. But yeah, I went through.
No, but you know what? I think it's something that I think there's Me Too, hashtag Me Too, then hashtag Men Too. I think you're like you're like on that hashtag now. Hashtag Men Too.
Yes.
I see that Robert says, stay away from these westernized women. Absolutely.
No, but the thing is that she was.
Oh.
Go ahead, Jose, and then Ramon.
That's the reason why I'm with Clara, because she's not from the U.S. But certain people want to poison her mind to develop American thinking.
No, don't let them. You keep her away from this type of woman that are gonna fill her mind, her brain in with feminist misandrist poison. Don't let them.
The way you said it was like misandrist, feminist.
Misandrist. It is poison. It is poison. God. I mean, it's gonna bring hell to Jose's life. I mean, we don't want that for him now, do we? No, we don't want.
Denise, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, two questions.
Oh, you're getting greedy. Go ahead.
Was that really necessary? Number one. And number two, are you still upset regarding your greeting?
No, I'm just trolling. I'm trolling. I'm literally trolling. I see that Robert says, even in the Dominican Republic, there's many women that have a bad mentality. That I absolutely agree. Like if you go to the like,
Yes.
come on, the DR has Tokisha, come on, and he says there's a lot of feminists over there. And it's absolutely true. A lot of people think that, coming to Latin America, like there's no feminism going. Oh, excuse me. Good luck. We have all watched Doña Bárbara, María del Barrio, Paquita la del Barrio, and all these people. And I see that the unknown, welcome the unknown. I haven't seen you in a while. He says, it's most likely too late. Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I think now it's coming down to personal choice. If you want to partake in stupidity or you want to just live in reality. I see that the unknown says feminism has reached Latin America heavily. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think it has reached the world at this point. It has reached the world. And it's obviously because the world is run by the West and everybody watches everything. I see that Robert Lee says the American
Mentality.
mentality is like a virus. Yeah, absolutely. Once this agenda gets pushed out way too much, like it gets out and it takes over. And to be honest, like a lot of people love to say that as Latina, and I'm going to speak as a Latina woman, that we don't have that in our community. I'm going to differ. There is a lot of feminism in our culture. There's only two differences that I have noticed between Latin feminism and American feminism. A lot of spaces, and I'm going to touch on next Sunday, I'm going to touch on a very disturbing movement that I have found here regarding this feminist. But there's two aspects that you will never find in Latin America, and that is we will never wish as a collective death upon Latino men. And the other aspect is that we will most likely stay in our marriages more than uh, American women. American
Yeah,
women are more willing to divorce. Other than that, no, everything is pretty much the same.
yeah, it has definitely reached the churches, and you have told us about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
when it comes to the feminism and like that, a woman being from the church, that doesn't mean that she's gonna be more submissive and cooperative. That doesn't necessarily mean that. She can be just as bit as feminist and misandrist as non-religious. I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely, absolutely. There's pastors that will encourage you to divorce rather than work on your marriage. There's other fellows in the part of the fellowship of the church that will advise you to do the wrong things. And I don't know. I honestly, but they're not teaching you how to have a happy marriage. They're honestly not teaching you
no,
that.
no, no. No, they're teaching you just enough to keep the collection plate full, but they're not teaching. They're not necessarily teaching how to keep a happy marriage. I mean, even though there are religious leaders that are supposed to be doing counseling on that in that area, but they're not necessarily doing their job.
Look, the unknown says
I
these
would.
dudes. Give me 1 second, Jose. The unknown says these dudes are preaching about Latin America women, not researching what has happened to feminine environment. And then Robert says, not in the Dominican Republic. Dominican women are actually wrecking their marriages. And then Robert says, yeah, they are sending messages asking money for like, loading their cars and stuff like that to like
Yeah, for the
all
phones.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the unknown says, Robert, I don't know what you're saying, but I agree heavily. Oh my God. But in all honesty, yeah, there is something, and I would like to talk to a Dominican woman about this, like an actual woman from the DR. What is going on in the DR that we're having this wave of women now reaching out to men outside of the country?
Hmm.
and actually requesting money, visas, marriage, and so on and so on and so on, with the promise of a sexual encounter. And they're basically, this is blatant prostitution, like in my opinion, of course. But I
Mhm.
want to know, like, I want to hear from Dominican ladies. I honestly, because I have heard many, 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 many stories, and I want to know exactly what's going on.
Well,
What's
that
happening
will take,
exactly.
that's something that will take like a survey. You will have to talk to a lot of people because
Yeah.
I mean, just talking to one person from the Dominican Republic, you're not gonna get the whole full picture about it. You will have to talk to several people.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
so you can
definitely.
get a better idea. But that's something, that part what you were describing, that's something that has been actually happening for some time, when it was somebody in Puerto Rico contacting a Dominican woman over the phone and things like that, and after having a couple of conversations, then the Dominican woman will start telling the guy how much she loved him, and started, le empezaba a comer el cerebro.
Endulzarle el oído.
Ajá, endulzarle el oído, como le dice, but that was because they were trying to get a little something out of them. I mean, they have been playing that game for a long time, and for a long time, I didn't want to meet with one of them. I didn't want to know one of them. Um, but that changed when I had the chance to actually go over there and meet women over there that maybe they were already, they already made a living and they didn't really needed me. So that helped me change my point of view about them, because I was hearing things about how these women were using these guys that were kind of like naive, and they were believing everything that they were saying, as to, and they were getting them for their money. They were getting them. They were patting down their pockets. But the
I
thing is
think
that,
it's happening, Ramon, because look, Robert says, I don't, he said that he has a bunch of messages. And then he says, I don't have that problem with Puerto Rican women, neither Cuban women. I'm like,
Mhm.
something must be happening to the DR specifically that we don't know, that this is a culture right now, like a subculture.
but isn't the same thing that's happening in Colombia? Because I hear things
Yeah.
about happening with guys that go to Colombia because they are trying to get together with somebody who looks like Jennifer Lopez, and and they're getting taken for whatever they got. There are
Look
guys
at
that are
look
getting
at
easily.
Nicky
Uh,
Jam.
I mean,
Look at Nicky Jam and his wife.
Ramon, be
no, but
careful
Nicky
because you're
Young,
going to sound.
he remade his career over there. Uh-huh.
But he
Uh,
married a Colombian woman that took some of his money. Do you remember that?
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah. Well, well,
Ah!
he got. He got got. Just like I was saying, he got got. Yeah.
uh, excuse me, Ramon. Be careful
Mhm.
because if you're not careful, you're going to start sounding like Mr. talking about Mr. BBC.
Oh my god.
No, but I didn't specify a demographic. I'm talking about these guys that maybe
Uh,
come from here, from the states, and they want to go to La Colombia, because there are the three main destinations for guys that are trying to quote unquote divest. That is the DR, Colombia, and Brazil. And
Yeah, I've
maybe
heard
we
that.
can
I've heard that.
add to that Thailand, because that's the new thing right now. They're settling back to Thailand, but that's Thailand is very popular with the guys that are in the military that have been stationed over there. Also, the Philippines, and they bring some of those women. Those guys are getting they're getting played. They're getting played because so
Look,
many times that I've heard of the Thai girls or the Philippine girls that they marry these servicemen member guys, and when they get here to the states, it's divorce and alimony, and they take whatever they can with them.
look. There's the 18th letter, Rakim said. It was an old story that I ran across, where this story where a Dominican woman was having a long distance relationship with an Aussie man, that's an
Yeah.
Australian, and he showed up in the DR broke, asking her to live at her home. Now, this is an incomplete story. What happened after that, Rakim? Did she took him in or no? And I see that the unknown says Colombia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Mexico, and El Salvador. I don't see a lot of gringos marrying, going to Mexico or El Salvador or even Puerto Rico to actually find a wife. And I think, I don't know, I love, I mean, we have beautiful women, but I think we are getting a little bit of this feminism too much. I see that Robert says the economy is really bad over there right now. There's a lot of problems over there in the DR. And he says a lot of men travel to the DR to look for women. Yeah, that
No, but
happens
that
a
has
lot.
been happening for a long time. There is
Yeah,
nothing new to that. That has
yeah,
been happening for I don't know how many decades.
that is
Excuse me,
insane.
guys.
Go ahead.
I have an uncle. There was a situation that he met a Jamaican chick. He married this chick, okay? And then one day he went to the apartment and he found the apartment was completely empty. It also happens that she took everything and
Mhm.
sent it back to the DR.
No.
And he wanted to go back with a gun to kill her.
Oh,
Oh,
oh man. No, but it could have been a situation of the guy being a bit too trusting, because there has to be a vetting process. There are some of these guys that are so impressed by how good the chick looks, and they got their nose bust all wide open, and so and they're all in love at first sight, and they trust whatever she says, and they don't have a vetting process, and they don't get her to prove herself when it comes to her loyalty. And there are many guys that get taken for a ride, they get got, they get taken for whatever they got out of their pockets. They end up broke, and that's because they're not vetting these women. They're not
yeah,
they're not holding them to task as to what their real motivation is to being with these guys.
yeah,
It could have happened. It could have easily happened to me. Thankfully, it never actually happened, because I'm very suspicious when a woman gets overly friendly with me. I'll become very suspicious, because she could have an agenda. She might be trying to do something. She might be trying to come at me, trying to play a game, trying to run game on me. I've had that happen. Not so much that they are genuinely attractive, physically attracted to me. I've gotten more of the ones that you can see from a distance that they are trying to run game on you, and they're trying to get something out of you. They're trying to get it. I mean, they're trying to play you. They're trying to play you. And fortunately, well, I did made a mistake once with one woman from outside of the United States, but I learned the lesson. And yeah, I took an L, but you cannot spell lesson without the letter L. So that's
yeah,
how I look at it. I mean, if I take an L, I take that L as in a lesson, and I learned the lesson,
absolutely.
and it hasn't happened to me again. So I bet a lot, and put a woman through the ringer as to her having to have to prove her loyalty to me, and prove to me what her intentions are. I'll make it difficult for them. And if they stay there at the end, then I'll trust her. I mean, I'll make
Yeah,
it difficult for them. I have to. Uh,
yeah. Protect yourself. I see that
yes.
Rakim posted the ending part of that story, that love story. It says she took him in because she thought he had money, and when she found out that he didn't, she said he had to go, and he thought she really loved him. Hilarious. I see that Robert says the urban culture is very popular in the DR. Many women are having surgeries done. A lot of them are OnlyFans. Oh my god!
Yeah, but that
You
must
know
be
what?
that must be the ones in like Sosua or something.
And you know what's crazy? This is why I was reported in Twitter and I was put in Twitter jail for 12
Yeah.
hours because I was called a whorephobic. Because I was saying like, okay, whores, prostitutes, however you want to call them, are
Yeah.
needed in every society. They are needed because we have males that cannot attain sex if they're not paying. That's just reality.
Yeah.
And either because they're socially awkward or inadequate, or they're just too broke to actually have a wife, or they're just not
Mhm.
attractive. So they are needed for that specific function. But the problem that we're having is that it's not supposed to be the bulk of women, and we're having way too many prostitutes, and that's not a sustainable economy. So at some point, we're going
Uh,
to have to come to an understanding. Either we start legalizing prostitution and taxing prostitution, or we're going to have to sanction this somehow, because if nobody's putting money into the pot and the coffers of the nation, and
Yeah.
everybody's turning into an OnlyFans prostitute, then the economy will suffer and the middle class will disappear, which is why I was talking in Jose's stream in the comment section.
Yeah,
uh,
other states are gonna have to follow the Nevada model, because in Nevada they do what you just described. I mean, it is legalized on the state level, but it has to be the sex workers have to be registered with the states, and they have to pay taxes, and there is a legal process to it, and so they are allowed to operate, but it is regulated and taxed, and that's
Yeah.
in the state of Nevada, and other states are gonna have to follow that model. I
Yeah.
mean, so to
excuse
cover what you're saying. Mhm.
Yeah.
excuse me, Denise.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't you know all whore lives matter?
Ah.
Uh,
They do. They actually do. But guys, I think we have had like a very good conversation, and I we took like a little turn into sex tourism and whatnot. And like I said, next Sunday I'm going to have a closer look at another thing. I think I want to do that from now on every Sunday, a closer look on different things, specifically shows and things that can have any kind of impact in today's society. So not necessarily related to man and woman relations, or but whatever show, it might be appealing to me, of course, because I am the captain of the show. So next week we're gonna have a closer look at the divested sector, and if you have any arguments, just know this. And I know a lot of guys are gonna get a lot of animosity towards what's going on. I get it. I get it. I get what's going on. I received like a few clips that were like very disturbing. And we're gonna have the conversation. Just know I'm not trying to have any direct harassment at anyone in particular. I do want to bring the conversation on because I believe everyone should be entitled to date whoever they want. However, I don't believe we should encourage harassment, death, and violence against the people that you're separating yourself from. And that's why I want to take a closer look at what's going on. So, Radical says, oh my effing God, wait, the divestments will come at you. Yeah, I mean, the divest steps can come at me, but oh my God. they I'll talk to you later. But I see that Rakim says, oh yeah, I'ma be there. It's forever smoke with the divest steps on my end. Absolutely. Now a closer look will be every Sunday, and I want guys to understand it will be extremely graphic, because next Sunday, and even this Sunday, we were talking about consent that's extremely graphic. So please, no kids, no underage people, no immaturity. Just bring your mature arguments. Like Rakim said, you can bring the smoke, you can bring whatever. Just make sure you gather your thoughts for next Sunday. It's going to be lit. It's going to be really, really good. And I said, yo, some of them are super anti-black. He said they worse than white supremacists. Yeah, they are the replacement of white supremacists. And Radical says, what? I can't come. But you can. You're invited. Everyone is invited. So, guys, I'm going to end this show. I'm going to put Ramon and Jose in the background. So, like I said, guys, this is my perspective on consent, like I said, previous today, and it's super. I think it's a good topic and a good conversation starter to have this show on Netflix. I think everyone should watch it to understand the structures of power and how everyone in situations like this uses their power in order to advance their own agenda. Now, in the era of Me Too, and like Ramon was starting, Men Too, you know, it's important to understand these things in order to protect yourself, because I believe in a fair game. Women should protect themselves, men should protect themselves. So I want to leave you, if you're a woman, I want to leave you with my 2 cents. If you are going to go out and you're in clubbing years and you're in your early 20s and what have you, please take good friends with you. And if you don't have those friends, what I mean by good friends, I mean women that are willing to not leave you alone when you have had more than 2 drinks. So if you're not gonna have those type of friends and you don't really trust your girlfriends, because I see this also on the ladies, there's a lot of pretty women out there that have had very bad experiences because some of your friends might not like you or are in competition with you, so they won't protect you. Make sure that you have those protections in place, and if you can, just don't get intoxicated in public and do it in the comfort of your own home. And it's time for us to take responsibility for our safety in the times that we're living in. And now, if you are a guy, I also want to encourage you to understand and read the culture. Now is not the time to roll the dice and hope for the best. I think either the government should provide breathalyzers or you should carry your own so you can determine if a woman is intoxicated. But I would recommend, if you go out clubbing, exchange numbers. Don't expect to hook up, because in the times that we're living right now, you got to protect the only thing that's one of the most fragile things for every human being in this planet, and that is your reputation. And you don't want to build your empire or your legacy and have all these things come at you after a few years, like we have seen with Mr. Big, like we have seen with Harvey, with uh, you know, um, many people. I'm not gonna start naming, but you guys know who I'm talking about. So, like I said, uh, be smart, know how to exchange numbers and select other settings to if you want to hook up, and try to get the consent right off the bat. And if not, then I will advise. And I know, like I said, this is just my opinion. You can take it or leave it. But in my opinion, I think you should just outsource sex as a monetary exchange. If you are on mating years and you're in your early 20s or your mid 20s, don't get it for free anymore, because the temperature right now is not ripe for the actual understanding we used to have in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s. And you don't want to get tangled up in this. So protect yourself, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope that this show has been very useful, and to understand that everyone can be assaulted, and both men and women have had experiences where both of them don't give consent. And if you are confused as to if you feel like you have not given consent, uh, report it. That's all I gotta say. If you're a man or a woman, please report it. Don't let it go unpunished, because this has to end in one way or the other. And like I said, guys, protect yourselves. That has been all for today. It was a pleasure, and I want to thank everybody for allowing me into their homes and their devices. This has been another episode of Latinsplaining with Denise. Have a good night, happy Easter, and see you on the next one. Peace.